Do you ever feel like you just work really, really hard and nothing really comes of it? You really don't get too far ahead. You really don't achieve the goals you set out to achieve. Well, we're going to talk about why just working hard is not enough, and you got to find some ways to work smarter if you want to be successful on eBay. Welcome to the Prof Sales YouTube channel. I am Prof Sales.
And I'm Just Ask Kaaren.
And on this channel, we talk about being a reseller, being an entrepreneur, being in business for yourself, maintaining a positive mindset, and just building a positive community.
That was good. And you didn't have to take run out of breath.
I usually do. But this channel is really devoted to all those things. And we're glad that you're here. There's a live chat going on right now because this show is being broadcast live. You can always join us. We're usually on at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons. And you can leave us a question or comment after the video post.
Smash the like button. Let's just do that right out of the gate, shall we?
Yep.
So look, we're joined by someone, I forget who suggested it. I think it was even yesterday. We were so tired, I don't remember, because we went live like impromptu. But I think Thingy is going to have to stick. And we have to say Thingy all the time. And you can never say Thingy too much, I think.
That's true. And Thingy is just a good all-around catch-all term. But also check out the description, guys, because down below there's all kinds of helpful links for you as a reseller, as a person in business for yourself, and we hope that you can find something there of value.
And there's no take two when you're live either, right? We just have to keep rolling and going, and yeah.
The camera knows. So we're going to jump in here in a second, but this subject, I just want to say before we even start too much on the subject, is that it was a deep sigh, wasn't it?
Long dramatic pause.
Okay, so the internet is full of silly memes. And I call them, some are legitimate and some are really useful to think about, but there's a lot of memes out there, right? And one of the memes that comes up over and over and over in our community, in the entrepreneurial community, and just really lots of communities. Life is this idea about working hard. And it usually goes something like this. And you usually say something like, work harder, hustle harder, work, all those things. So we're here to tell you today why that's not always the best advice.
Leave it up to us to kind of go against the grain and tell you, don't believe everything you've always believed, right?
Well, and let me just say this. When people put those memes out or retweet or post something they've seen somewhere, they're doing so probably with a good intention. This is not about someone trying to mislead you or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that at all. It looks like our stream is choppy. Yeah, I was afraid of that. I think our internet's having a little bit of an issue. But so we basically just want to be able to talk to you about why that mindset is not really, it's not even that it's not enough. It's just not what you should do. Is that accurate?
It's accurate. I already know what you want to talk about and what you're going to say today. So yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
All right. So I'll just say it like this. And I typed out a few notes. So we always do. We try to type notes and be, on point. And please let us know if the stream is still having issues. I don't know what we can really do on our end too much, but we'll try to be cognizant of it. So this idea, work harder, it won't work. It won't. And the reason it won't work is you can only work so hard. I don't know what like Kaaren and I asked her this question last night. I said, let's suppose your effort level is 100. And
you've done and put in all that you can possibly do.
Right, as defined by you, and only you know that. And you do that for, say, a month, and you only get 90% of the results you expected.
Or that you needed.
You
only got to 90% of goal or need. That's how you presented it to me.
That's right. What would you do differently? And of course, she read something different in the question of what I meant, and we argued about that for a few minutes. But then we finally got to the end of the conversation, and we both agreed you would have to do something different.
What do you do when you've done all that you can do? You don't do more of it harder or just more of it, because again, you've already done it all. You've used all of your time. You can't like suddenly get more time, right?
Right. And I was thinking about, because I started looking at the hardest jobs in America, and, you know, obviously that's a subjective thing, but there was all this, you know, these jobs that somebody put together a list and said, you know, for instance, like a dishwasher. And the reason they said that was such a hard job was because A, it's very menial. You can teach almost anyone to do it. Not everyone, but almost anyone. B, even if you do it harder or better, there's just more dishes coming down the line. And C, there's nowhere to go. There's no advancement in it. It's not like you can become a super awesome dishwasher and advance yourself financially or career-wise. There's no way to really do that, right? It's just, it is what it is. It's one of those jobs. So working harder in that job doesn't really get you anything.
You know the one that stuck out to me?
What?
And there were a lot of them. Weren't there like 30?
Yeah, it was 30
a bunch or something. Lumberjack.
Lumberjack.
That's the one that I remember.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going to cut down that tree faster.
Harder or more. Like at some point you've cut down all the trees, right? Yeah,
or, well, I mean, it's a tree, and you have to be careful. I mean, there's safety concerns there. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just say, I'm just going to cut down more trees today. Mm-hmm. Mr. Sadie says he could be the head dishwasher. I think that's a good job for you, Sadie. Absolutely. I think you would make an amazing head dishwasher. Maybe like even, you know, like a CEO dishwasher. I don't know.
There could be regional dishwashers.
True. Regional dishwashers, district manager, dishwasher. But imagine if we told athletes to just work harder. Mm-hmm. Now, I know we say you've got to practice and put in the time, and you do. That's true. But if we just said, hey, if you just put in 24 hours a day, or even 20 hours a day, you're going to play in the NFL. You're going to play in the NBA. You're going to play in Major League Baseball. That's not reality. The reality is, if you did that as a professional athlete, is you would get burnt out, probably injured. You would have no time or energy for the other things in your life, and your existence would be fairly miserable. I think, you know, so we don't tell athletes to do that. We don't tell, you know, a doctor to work around the clock. Oh, you're the best surgeon in the world. Just work harder and you'll save more people's lives. At some point, that surgeon is going to have to pass off cases to other surgeons. At some point, they're going to have to rest. At some point, they're going to have to re-energize themselves, or they're going to be burnt out and make mistakes that could, in that case, cost someone their life, right? So this whole kind of like work harder mentality is kind of silly when you really break it down for a lot of jobs, or a lot of careers, and a lot of business. But we want to talk about why it's not applicable if you're an eBay seller.
Right. And just like you've heard, you've seen the memes, or you've heard harder, hustle, more. You've probably also, because some people have already put it up in the chat, work smarter, not harder. And we're here to say today that it's not just a slogan. Working smarter in your business is something that you should do in all aspects, probably in all aspects of your life, honestly. But to be smarter at it is to be better at it, to look at it from a different lens.
Right.
And how can I streamline this process, or how can I do this differently, or how can my outcome be greater than it was before? Because you'll hear us say a lot that, you know, insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right?
Yeah, and Diane says you're equating working harder with working more hours. Well, that's what some people will tell you, mm-hmm. but that's not the only way they'll say you. Like in the reselling game, they'll say, well, you just need to list more things. You just need to photograph more things. You need to source more things. It's also just doing more. But again, you still run into these real life barriers, energy, time, and then the one we haven't even talked about is it worth it? Even if you do all those things, what do your results look like on the back end that make it worth it or not? So, sorry, somebody was paying me for something they bought. But hold that thought, Diane, because I understand where you're coming from. So we want to talk about 7 tips that we think will allow you, that you need to keep in mind when you're thinking about working smarter and not harder. So I guess we could just ping pong back and forth. I know there's one you want specifically.
Yeah. Did we finish?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, the only thing in the intro is just that your time and energy are too valuable to waste just plugging away in a model or a niche that is not really maximizing your profit for the amount of energy and capital you need to put into it. So that's important to keep in mind. It's not it's just not enough to work hard. It just isn't. And in some cases, it's actually hurting you if you go in certain directions.
And we're here to remind you, if you're not seeing it for yourself, that your time is very valuable.
Yes, it is. Your time is super valuable, not just for your business, but for the people in your life, for your peace of mind, all those things. So,
yes.
What's time number one?
We'll go back. Is that one for me?
Well,
because there are some that, are just for me.
Actually, I'll do one and you do two. And yeah, okay, we'll do it that way.
Okay.
All right. So the number one tip about working smarter and not harder to remember is hard work is draining mentally and physically. It's very draining. If you don't believe that, do what I did a couple of years ago when I was at my parents' and they asked me to chop down a tree. And rather than go get the chainsaw blade, the chainsaw chain put on, a new chain, I decided, it's only a tree about this big around. How bad will it be with an axe?
Speaking of lumberjacks.
It sucked. It sucked bad. Like, I got it chopped down, but I was in pain for like 2 days. It's not like I go around practicing chopping down trees. I'm using muscles I haven't used. And but you've got to find a way to delegate tasks. You've got to find a way to automate your task or even eliminate them. Maybe you don't need to do them. So some good examples you might think about, like in our niches, a lot of us are resellers, is you brought this one up, organizing your inventory. Because, and we've had a couple people who've talked about that in recent shows who said, oh yeah, I sold this such and such item and my inventory's not organized. And it took me an hour to go find it. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like you just wasted 59 minutes. Like your profit for that hour went, as well as your frustration went up. You couldn't go do anything else. You minimized your profit on that item by taking an hour to find something that probably should have taken you 30 seconds. Because you don't want to put in the few hours it's going to take to set up an inventory system that'll keep you organized to save the hundreds of hours on the back end you're going to get in productivity. I mean, that's like hard work. Like, does anybody out there really want to do that? Do you want to have a 5,000 item eBay store and just have it all thrown in a lump in the corner? And whenever somebody buys something, you got to search through everything to find it. I mean, that is insane. Like, we wouldn't do that, but that's working harder. So I don't know why you would do that. Like, that doesn't make sense. But, and then you mentioned a workflow, or we've talked about a workflow from station to station.
Right. And it kind of feeds into if your inventory is organized and you're going to one spot to get something instead of having to go here, there, and everywhere. Maximize the inventory in the spaces that you use. Like we've talked about, and I'm going to make a formal suggestion. So we have containers on top where the jeans are now. And maybe we should put lighter weight things up on those top shelves.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because that's physically tiring to have to lift and do, like 40 pounds, 40 pounds.
And even if instead of putting 15 jeans in each of those, it was just 10, like that, a third of the weight's gone right there.
Yep.
So that would help.
So in thinking about how you can navigate through your inventory better, it makes sense to streamline from station to station, right? Like how many of us have inventory like we used to have? Our inventory for jeans was upstairs. Our listing area was in the front room. Our photography area was in the back room. So here we are having to go here, and heaven forbid you forgot to measure those jeans and you left your tape measure in the photography room or upstairs in the
I did that so many
inventory.
times.
So we ended up buying 2 tape measures or whatever. But your workflow as you go from each step along the way of listing and selling and just doing all the thingies, that matters too, because you can wear yourself out. If you're heaving up and down the stairs, to do every little thing, that doesn't make sense. So batch your tasks. Maybe do more than one thing in the same location. Have your listing and your photography. Like we ended up actually transitioning to having desk and photography all in the same space. So
yeah. All right. So you want to do number 2?
I bet it's something that people don't think of, and it's that working smarter, number 2, helps your self-image,
Your self-image.
So when you maximize your productivity by using time hacks, and time hacks are what? They're things that just make better use of your time. We talk about life hacks, similar. Organization, prioritization, etc. Once you do all of that, then you produce a great product that should deliver superior results, right? Profitability, less time to source, list, etc. All of those things are going to fall into place after you do that. And that is great for our self-esteem, right? Melissa, earlier when we first started, said, got everything done, right? I got everything packed and shipped. And I'm like giving her a virtual high five because we're in the same boat. It feels good to get a task completed, right? And so, you know. And
if you did it in a way, though, that was disorganized, inefficient, time-consuming, energy-consuming, and frustrating, I don't know how good you're going to feel about it even after you get it done. Like, you're probably just going to feel exhausted. Like, that took a long time and a lot of energy. I mean, nobody wants to feel that way when they work in their business or at your job if you have a career. I mean, you don't want to feel like I just beat my head against the wall all day today and barely got anything done. I mean, no one likes feeling like that. And even what I did get done, it's just sort of, you know, cobbled together because it was all I could do because your systems and so on were inefficient and not productive.
Well, and we've talked about this is such a solitary business for a lot of us that you need to celebrate your small victories. You really do. So, you know, there's a funny shirt about I something today, but in reseller language, you know, I shipped the things today, or I, you know, here's a fist bump. We listed everything that we bought over the weekend.
They're back there.
It's photographed, it's up, it's done. So we have nothing sitting from the weekend. And that's a small victory. That's a good thing. And it's something to feel good about.
And it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars of potential sales too.
Yeah, because, you know, the thingies aren't going to sell if they're not out into the universe for people to buy, right?
Absolutely. All right. So number 3.
I have trouble with 3.
This is the best one, I think, for a lot of you guys. And I do this without even thinking about it. But when I read it, I was like, you know what? That is genius. So number 3 is work when you feel like it. And everybody's going to be like, yes, Prof is finally telling us I don't have to do anything. Okay, well, there's a little caveat here. So there's a lot of science out there that suggests that we are not at, you know, apologies to certain people who think they can just kill it and crush it all day long at a peak level. First of all, no, you can't. But even if you feel that way, there are going to be periods of the day, maybe at night, maybe afternoon, maybe the morning, kind of depends on who you are and how, you know, you're structured, when you are going to be more efficient than other times. So the suggestion here is to carve up your day into maybe 30, 60, or even 90-minute increments. That's kind of like the sweet spot is somewhere between 30 and 90 minutes. And these segments should coincide with the peak periods of your day when you've got the most energy, you feel the most concentrated, you don't feel sluggish from a meal, you don't feel tired from needing to go to sleep, you don't got all these other things that are going to come in and, you know, take over your life right at that moment. But we all know there are parts of the day where you feel super, super energized and really good about, you know, working. And there's other parts where you're like, not so much. But you need to kind of recognize that about yourself. I don't know what it is for all you guys, but for a lot of you, or for me, I find I'm really like my mental creativity side, which is minimal with me anyway. But from about 9:30 to about 12 in that period, I'm pretty good creative wise. In the afternoon, not so much. Like, I shouldn't do creative things in the afternoon. I should do the more mundane things in the afternoon. Like, if I just need to list things, that doesn't take a lot of mental energy. I should do those things. And even there, you should take some breaks in between. It's better to take a 15-minute break and then work solid for an hour than to work for 5 minutes, take 5 minutes off, work for 5 minutes, take 5 minutes off, and just kind of meander through it all. It's better to just hit it hard, put away all the other distractions, and just go after it. Were you going to say something?
No, when you brought up the work when you want to, we need to be clear that, you know, if you take that at face value, my first reaction to that was what? Well, gosh, Prof, if you say it that way, nobody's going to want to work, right? But this is about capitalizing on your most effective and productive times. You're a morning person. I'm not a morning person. So.
Yeah, and Drummer says, I keep forgetting to take a break. Well, we're gonna talk about in tip number 6 something that will help you with that, Drummer. So hang on to that thought.
Yeah. And we talked about, I'll save it for number 6, because we talked about something about what we do when we take breaks, actually, that makes breaks even more effective, right? So next is number 4. And there's probably a really good reason I have this one, right? There's actually a couple of reasons. But put down the multitasking and slowly back away, right? So what do you mean by that, Prop? So it's more than squirrels, right? It's not being distracted by other things that you're doing. We're not talking about distractions as multitasking, but let's say you're a mom. I'm a mom. And there are a lot of moms that come to our channel that are stay-at-home moms, and they're doing the mom thing at the same time that they're doing the eBay thing, and they're trying to do them all together, and it's just not working because you can't do both things simultaneously and do them as well as you want to, because something's going to suffer. So what we're suggesting is be a mom. You know, if your children are young enough and they're at home and there's nap time, consider maximizing your eBay within that 1 hour, because I would challenge you that you will be more effective if you concentrate, if you laser focus on your eBay listings during that 1 hour of you time, as opposed to trying to fit it in between, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's better to focus on one thing 100% than to focus on 10 things at 10% each. It really is, because you're not going to get them done very well. You're not going to feel good about it either. I mean, you're going to get to the end of those tasks that you didn't even complete and feel like, man, I didn't get anything done today.
Right. And multitasking, you know, we're kind of kidding ourselves. A lot of us brag about being, oh, I'm a multitasker. I think multitasking rarely leads to stellar results in all of the things. Right. Like it's kind of like that. And I always get these wrong, but it's kind of like you can either be really good at one thing or mediocre at a bunch of things at the same time. And we're not saying that you're doing anything wrong, but I think sometimes as moms in particular, and even as humans, I don't want to, you know, it's not only about moms, but I am one. So there you go. But we're a little hard on ourselves, right? Because we're trying to do everything all at once. And it's not that you're failing at it. It's just you're not doing as well in it as you could be if you just shifted your priorities and your focus and you were just really good at that. And then you moved on and you did this. Yep. So if that's a thing for you, give it a try. You know, anything that we're suggesting here that sounds foreign, before you poo-poo it, give it a try.
Yeah, and sports is a great analogy there, because like the game of football, American football, for those of you not, you know, familiar with it, you have positions on the field, and your position has a specific responsibility on every play. And if you're playing guard or tackle and your job is to protect the quarterback, but you're worried about if the wide receiver is running the route right, fail. Like that, you know, you're going to give up a sack. So you cannot, sports is a great analogy for that, but it's kind of like that in your business too. You just cannot focus on all the things all at once. It just won't work. All right, number 5 is to delegate tasks. Okay, so here's the problem for most of you as business owners, and I know some of you watching have said things like this before. You'll say things like, I struggle having control or giving up control of things. I don't want to give up control of anything because people won't do it as well as me. You know, there's a saying I heard the other day. It said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And there's no way that you're going to be able to go very far by yourself. You're going to reach some real limits there. You're going to need technology. You're going to need systems. You're going to need organization. And eventually you may even need other people. But you've got to be able to delegate those tasks out, because a lot of us feel like we're business owners and we have to take on every task, real and imagined. Every single thing we have to do, and because we feel like if we don't, it won't get done right. Guess what? Some of the things that you delegate won't get done right. Some of the things you're going to do, you won't do right too. Yeah. But the reality is we live in a world where most of the tasks that you have as a business owner, many of them, can be delegated, automated, consolidated, and sometimes even eliminated. Because this is a different world than it was 30, 40 years ago. I mean, you can set up things to automatically happen. You could automatically order shipping supplies. You can set a reminder to do that. I mean, you can ask other people for help. You can use virtual assistants. You can use apps that will help you with your scheduling, with your planning, with your prioritization. You have to be able to admit that you're not good at everything, and focus on what you are good at. That is so critical to this. And it's something I forget every day. Like just today I was talking, I have to create kind of a little bit of a web application to for this consignment business. So consigners can log in and see, what's going on with their business. And I started looking at like a couple weeks ago, I was like, maybe I can go and use this application, create or this one. And I realized after like a few days, I thought, could I learn this? Yes. How long will it take me? Probably 6 months at the rate I'm going. And I'm not even sure then I would understand it. And I was just like, screw it. I'm going to hire somebody to do it. And I found somebody who can do it. So you got to be able to delegate tasks. Very, very important.
Yes. And, well, I know I'll go on to the 6th, but you know what made when we put that one on the list? So we went and we visited with Luke from Endless Entrepreneurs. We live in the same city and we get to see him not as often as we'd like to, but he's using.
Because he moved.
Well, there's that. He used to live like a mile from us, but anyway, but we got to see the new house. It's awesome. I digress. Squirrel. But anyway, so we went to see his new house and we were talking about all the things we talk about, but he's doing this. He's delegating. He's hired some VAs of sorts.
Yep.
And he's delegating out some tasks and he loves it, right? Yep. He loves that he's having other people, aren't they photographing and listing for him?
They're going to be, yeah. So he's starting to delegate out the mundane part of this business that honestly, you could argue he loses money if he spends all his time doing that, even with paying them.
Right. And it kind of leads into the other one as far as time filling up itself or whatever. But in doing that, now he has time to devote to rehabbing that house.
Yep.
So it's not like he's just sitting around doing nothing, but in delegating that, he's been able to divert himself and his time into something else. So that's very cool, which leads us to number 6, right? And I have to read this one because this one's a new one for me. No, the part of it, not this new one. But anyway, schedule everything. And it's ironic that I'm getting this because I hate scheduling everything. I do.
I did not plan it that way. But
he didn't. But Jason wants to make a list. And as crazy as it makes me, I'm willing to try it. Because what happens, and we talked about this again this morning, but we get here and we get distracted. Like you go do something about YouTube or I go do something about the rugby. And if we're being honest with ourselves and we're wanting to work toward making this business better, we've got to make a focused front. We have to show up and do the things we're supposed to do for the business and then make time for that other stuff. So we've kind of agreed to commit to a schedule and whatever that looks like. But we're okay from using this new like 30, 60, 90, whatever. All right, we're going to devote this much time to this much time to that, this much time to that. But in scheduling everything, there's something called Parkinson's Law that states that tasks expand to fill the time allotted. And is Parkinson's Law a good thing or it's just a thing?
Well, I think it reflects what happens, right?
Right. We have time and it fills itself, right?
Yeah. Like we have a task and we say, oh, I have 2 hours to do that. Even though the task may truly only take you an hour to get done, you decide by whatever means, oh, I've got 2 hours to get it done. So it fills up the whole 2 hours when it really could have been done in an hour.
Yeah.
It's very easy to follow that.
So we, preferably the night before, because I don't like this last minute stuff. Like you've brought this up before, like when we're getting ready to do one of these hangouts, don't come to me an hour before it starts or I'll be cross. Like I want to have a plan. Like
she will.
Ideally, I want to have a plan on what this show is going to be about a week ago, but it doesn't always work out that way. Right. I get it. So in our own evolution, our own transition into what makes our time here at the warehouse the most effective, the night before, we're going to have a little talk about what the day is going to look like.
Right.
And the balance there is that, I don't want to be talking about work 24/7. I can't do it. It's going to make me crazy. And we fall into that trap a lot. Recognize it, and we're getting better.
Yep.
But Drummer brought up the he has to remind himself to take a break, right? When we were having lunch today, I said, it's great that we're having this time for lunch, but I need some downtime built into my lunch. Like if I want to play some game on my phone or check the Facebook or something or update this or that, I need some time where I can just sort of step away from this and do something different.
Yep, absolutely. So schedule everything. And that brings us to number 7. Working smarter increases your value to your business. So how does it increase your value to your business? Well, I'm going to tell you how. If you use less time, less energy, and less capital, and your productivity increases, you're going to see that you're going to positively impact your financial bottom line as well as your personal bottom line. Because you're going to have a lot of inspiration replenished as you keep getting results. Because we're all creatures of, positive reinforcement. When we do something and we get a good result from it, we feel good about ourselves and we want to keep doing it. We want to go and do that again and again and again. So when you work smarter instead of harder, you're not exhausting yourself as much and you're getting better productivity, getting better results. So you have to give yourself the ability to do that, because if you don't, you're going to feel like, well, why am I just working my butt off and not really getting very far ahead in this business? That is very demotivating.
Right. So if you want to work hard, this is our challenge to you. Work hard at working smarter. Won't be disappointed. Say it any simpler than that.
Yes, because the world today, it values productivity and ingenuity. It does not value working to exhaustion. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't. Because when you look at the people, I was thinking about this example. I hate playing the comparison game. If you watch this channel, you know that I talk about that, the trap of the comparison game. But let's compare yourself to a hypothetical you. Mm-hmm. So, because that is always a fair comparison. If I told you that 10 years from now, that we'll use income as it's not the best goal, but since we're talking a lot of business, we'll just use that. 10 years from now, your income was going to be 20 times what it is right now. I don't know what you make. Maybe you make a lot, maybe you make a little, maybe you're in the middle. That's really up to you to decide. But 10 years from now, you're going to be making 20 times what you're making today, right? So if that was the case, could you argue that you're only working at 1/20th as the capacity that you will be in 10 years? Like, are you going to work 20 times harder to do that? I don't think so. Suppose it was 50 times. And there are people who make 20 times what you do, probably 50 times, 100 times. Are they working 50 or 100 times harder than you? How could they? Mm-hmm. Do they have 50 times 168 hours in a week or 100 times 168 hours a week? They have more time than you? They don't. Do they have more energy than you? Probably not. So how can they be working harder than you? They're doing something different, and you can do something different too. And that was kind of what started all this. You can work as hard as you want and you will get some results. I'm not saying you won't, but if you want to maximize your results for the time and energy you put in, you're going to have to find a way to work smarter. You're going to have to source better, list better, have better processes, sell more high margin items. And again, you got to find your sweet spot with that. But we just wanted to talk to you guys about this topic today because honestly, it drives me nuts and it's kind of a pet peeve. Yeah. And it's all about me today. But anyway.
Well, and if you subscribe to that idea that the harder you work, if that's ingrained in your head, that your success is totally dependent on the amount of effort and the amount of hard work that you put in, you're going to be disappointed. I don't want you to beat yourself up over that because the truth is control the other end. The quality of your whether or not you spell things correctly. But once it's out in the universe, we can only do so much. And we can't, we were talking about that last night. We can't, other than that, we can't control what happens. Just because I work harder and I sweat more, does that mean people are going to buy more of my stuff? No, it doesn't. So don't stop beating yourself up. Don't subscribe to this idea that, I just have to sweat more or I have to work harder. No, there's a better way that you're not going to, make yourself crazy on. Just work smarter, get better and more streamlined at what you're already doing. Results will be better.
Yeah, and you'll probably find that you can work as hard. Time, your energy should, not maximizing your effort. Important distinction. Effort is not limitless, but your results kind of are. They could be. I mean, for all practicality, effortless or limitless, but I just think that it's a trap that we all fall into. And we've all, we need to grind out things and do this and do that. And I just think that you have to kind of take a step back and reassess, is what I'm doing really going to get me to where I want to go just by more effort? Sometimes the answer might be yes. Maybe you got a great plan. You got a great setup. Your organization, your systems are awesome. You've automated, delegated. You've done everything right. And you do need to put in more effort. And maybe you can't for whatever reason. That's a whole different argument. But that's not the case for most people. Most people have not figured out that plan on the front end. And we're guilty of it too. That's why we've started pivoting towards, higher margin items and higher average selling price items. That's part of us. What we feel is working smarter than harder. So I think all those tips are, and there's a lot more tips that are out there. You can Google these things.
This is just the tip of the tip iceberg.
Yeah.
But we talked, so yeah, work smarter. We can pretty much wrap that up, right?
Yes.
So we were talking the other day about, why you're wanting to change and why you're wanting to evolve and why there's sort of a lot of things that are going to be different around here. And our reality is that if we continue at the same rate, the same velocity, the same effort, it's not going to not only support the three of us moving forward, but we're never going to get ahead. Like, do you remember having that conversation over the weekend?
Yes.
You've taken a look at, okay, I can continue to do this one-man thing. I can sell jeans and I can make whatever I'm making per pair of jeans, but it's just not going to be enough. So a natural evolution is, if we want more, we're going to have to do something different. And that's what, that's why we're changing and sharing it with all you guys, good, bad, or otherwise.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's that favorite time of the show when we take questions and talk about some other stuff, right?
Yes, and we do apologize if there's some issues with the video and audio. It should clear up on playback, believe it or not.
Yeah, playback will be better.
We're trying to take care of those best we can.
Yep. So we were going to call this show, I lived through my Let It Go sale today. But we figured that title would be sketchy, right? So yesterday, we finally sold what?
The bed.
Dun, dun, dun. Yep, Jason's old bed finally went. And it was classic, like, everybody's posturing, like, don't rob me. You don't rob me. I won't rob you. But this fella showed up, bless his heart. His sister made him come here to get the bed.
She didn't come with him.
No, she didn't.
Him.
He gets a phone call and makes him come. And he showed up and he was all grumbly when he first, we all want to see him all tough and just abrasive and you can't touch me. But by the time it was over, we're talking about his girls and how it's important to be self-employed and all this and all that. But the main thing is what? The bed is gone. And we went to lunch with some of the proceeds.
That's right. We celebrated.
We did.
Because I was telling Luke, I said, I think I bought that bed for $100, like what, 6 years ago? 5 years ago?
5 years ago, yep.
And sold it for $60. So really rented a bed for 5 years for $40.
That's one way to look at it.
Not too bad.
But the big thing is it's gone. It was this sort of, elephant in the room, like literally.
I hate big, clunky anything.
Right. And now I just want to sell all the furniture, right? Like, I'm like, okay, we don't need this couch. Let's just get rid of it.
Yes. And Adam asked about what Deb and Paul are doing with jean pair number 1.
Oh, so I'm going to hijack Jason's Instagram later tonight and show the progression of the pictures in the package. But Deb and Paul, the package went out, the PFRE went out this morning, and I packed it with as much love as I could have. Like, the thing is overflowing with like goodies, but you can only, like, I couldn't put like a pair of shoes in it, but there are a lot of little thoughtful things. We signed Just Ask Kaaren, Prof Sales. We went to see Luke and had him sign it as well. And then from there, it's, it's out in the universe. So Paul is going to take it and have some other people sign it. And I'm not allowed to steal his thunder, so I have to leave it. I have to put it there on the table and leave it at that. But those jeans are destined for greatness. I heard something about they might even be on display at an eBay event sometime over the summer.
Hard to say. Not up to us. We are no longer the owners of them.
And speaking of,
did you mail those already? Yeah.
I told you I sent
I thought
them.
you did.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that part. I was reading the chat.
I even took pictures of said package. And I told Deb this morning, even I said, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
That's pretty cool.
There you go.
So yeah, the gene number 1 was gone. Perseverance.
And how old was that gene pair of 1?
Old. It was in the 4 digits for the number of days old.
And what's cool about that is we've decided now that we're not going to sit on some things as long, right?
Right. We wouldn't do that now. They probably would have moved a lot quicker.
But we that particular pair, in all honesty, it was a pair of Luckies, and we just couldn't let it go. Like if it was like something cruddy, maybe we would have, well,
it just became a thing too.
It was iconic, right? This was pair 1, and they were adorable, and now they're even more adorable. But again, tonight when I get back to the house, I will hijack your Insta and show the evolution of those jeans as they went off into the mail.
Perfect. Lots of great comments in the chat. By the way, thanks for you guys showing up. 90-some people watching. So we do appreciate that. If you're enjoying the content, please
smash the like button, mateys. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We are always, there's no telling. We went live yesterday on a Sunday, which we never did do. And we even did a haul video, which Jason never does, but we may do again. And April is going to be a really fun month for the channel because we're going to branch out, and we are planning in advance. We're going to branch out and do some new and kind of cool things.
Absolutely. I want to buy more new shoes and sell them. I don't know why.
I know. Well, there's a Marshall's right up the street, right?
Well, yeah, there is. I mean, we have a lot more sourcing we can do here in Charlotte for some of these things that now, like stores we wouldn't have gone in before, we definitely will go into now. Mm-hmm. So it's going to create kind of a whole nother business model, not business model, but a whole nother approach.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like a little personal victory for me, like I said to you yesterday, I said, all right, how many items? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There were 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said, no matter what, tomorrow, everything that we bought over the weekend gets listed. And it was. And it doesn't sound like a big deal. I think it was only 10 things. But it's a big deal.
It's a big deal because you commit to that. It's something that we committed to doing. We got it done. And you can feel good about it. Like that replenishes and recharges you, like we were saying with the list.
Mm-hmm. And that also, like, if we make that commitment, because right now we're in between some other busy peaks that are coming up. So we're making the most of all of the time. So when we have what is considered downtime for us, then we can go and, I have some things on deck on my desk. I have to clean those good grief shoes. I have a pair of roller skates I need to prep. So there's always something that can be done. So when we need to pivot, and maybe when that 30, 60, 90-minute window has ended, and then we need to go and focus on something else. What just fell behind? Is that a bug?
No.
Okay. I just heard something back there.
It
landed on me. Something just landed on me. If it bites me, you're in big trouble. But so we always have something to do. And with the new items that we bring in particular that are our inventory, in listing them in the moment and processing them like right away, that's also going to get rid of death piles, right? Because we have things that are sitting in here, and we're not ashamed to say, we'll just openly say, we've got things that are sitting in here that should have been listed, some of them months ago.
Months ago, yeah.
But we're not willing to let that happen anymore. So we're getting into that pile a little bit and then doing this. So
Fabiola asks if the info is out for eBay Open. Yeah, I don't think they've really completely given it all out, which I don't know why they wait so long. It's kind of weird.
Right. Yeah. But I was talking to Yvonne, and I'm not sure if she's here, but the dates are pretty much July 24 through 27, but they haven't officially released the hotel. It'll probably be the MGM Grand.
Yeah.
And we are really, all right. So I really want to go.
She wants to go all of a sudden. Like it just came up today. She's like, could we go? And I was like, oh.
Well, that's because I have.
Well, it's in Las Vegas. Sadie, are you there? Are you there, my friend?
Are you going to go? Because all my friends are going.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard they have poker there, so it's possible that I might show up and do that. But yeah, I do love Vegas for about 2 or 3 days, and then I don't. But but it is a lot of fun, and so we're thinking about it. It would be cool to go out, and obviously some of our other resellers will be out there, so that'd be
right. So we've got Green Room in June in Austin, and then we're going to try to do eBay Open in Vegas in July.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys. Well, listen, that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the tips. Take those 7 tips and go work smarter, not harder. And I think you're going to see your results go up, and you're going to feel better about your business, and your bottom line is going to be positively impacted.
Work harder at working smarter.
I love it. The racks behind you look ideal for shoes. Where did you get them? There's a link down below in the description.
Lots of links.
But hey, it doesn't cost you anymore, so check it out. It's right there.
Lots of links down below.
Song mix, they're awesome.
They are awesome.
So thanks again, guys. Please check out the description for helpful links, like we just said.
And until next time, this is Just Ask Kaaren.
And Prof Sales saying
good sales to you.